With bars, restaurants, nightclubs, and sporting venues closed for weeks now in many places, there are millions of gallons of golden, delicious liquid going to waste. Beer. Today, let's talk about what some people are doing to try to save that beer, if they can even get access to it. Beer is never fresher than on day one, when they first put it into kegs, bottles, and cans. So how long does beer last? Well, in a properly tapped keg with CO2 in a temperature-controlled room, pasteurized beer can last up to 120 days. Non-pasteurized craft beer can last about 45 days. And real ale, the British-style non-pasteurized pull draft type, needs to be consumed within a week of opening. But it's not quite that simple. It can take up to 20 days for the kegs to be filled at the source, delivered to the distributor, and then to the bar and restaurant. So the good unpasteurized beer that I like is set back in shelf life to only 25 days from the time you can actually get it. Many state lockdowns in the United States began in mid-March, and today it's April 27th. That means that most of that fresh beer in bars, clubs, and venues is lost. On top of that, think of all the events that have been canceled that normally include drinking plenty of beer. The coronavirus pandemic forced U.S. bars to close ahead of two of the country's biggest drinking occasions, St. Patrick's Day and the March Madness basketball tournament. Beer intended for those events is now spoiling in locked establishments, and brewers are trying to get it back so kegs can be refilled before lockdowns lift. Up to 10 million gallons of beer is stuck in venues and could cost the beer industry as much as $1 billion, according to the National Beer Wholesalers Association. Okay, that's sad, but we can dump the beer out and take the kegs back. Not so fast. Dumping the unused ale en masse isn't an option. Environmental regulations say large volumes of beer shouldn't be poured down drains or into rivers because it can disturb the pH balance, reduce oxygen in the water, and produce undesirable bacteria. Before deciding where the stale beer goes, brewers or distributors must first access tens of thousands of lockdown venues, lift the heavy kegs out of cellars, and safely balance trucks that may be carrying a mix of full and empty barrels. Another issue is that the kegs themselves are worth about $100 a piece. And if a venue goes under, those kegs could be tied up in bankruptcy proceedings for months. In the UK, the situation could be even worse. Remember that a tapped keg of real ale only lasts about a week. In the UK, an even bigger portion of beer is at risk, since about 49% of beer is drunk in pubs, restaurants, and bars, compared with 20% in the US. 50 million pints of beer could go to waste. So what can we do? Well, one pub owner in the UK started delivering his cask ale to customers. Mr. Todd created a website offering home delivery to sell his existing inventory of expiring ale. Strong demand means he's now buying fresh supplies, delivering small kegs and growlers to local customers. Some larger beer companies are now turning the beer into ethanol to mix with gasoline, and small craft brewers are now using crowlers. A growler is a refillable container that you can take to your local craft brewery and get refills. But with the pandemic and physical distancing, many have moved to crowlers, a 32-ounce can. And whiskey maker Whistle Pig has been taking gallons of skunked beer and distilling it into 160 proof alcohol that can then be aged to make whiskey. Our route to the market has obviously been affected by COVID. But unlike whiskey, beer never gets better with age. It's the least we can do to help out our friends in the industry and ensure they can continue to brew the freshest beers possible. But it's not all good news for the smaller breweries. They often operate on slimmer margins, and many of them have laid off their workers or have been forced to close altogether. But the small breweries usually make the best and the freshest beer. So if you're a real fan of real beer and want to support your area and small businesses, skip the six-pack from the big brand and search for your local breweries to see if they are offering beer to go. This one near me is even offering free delivery. And there are a few websites that I will link to in the description below that allow you to tip out-of-work food and beverage professionals in almost every state in the U.S., as well as support programs like crisis relief and emergency funds to help maintain payrolls for workers until they can reopen. Well, now that that's over, if you enjoy this content, please click the like button and share. and consider subscribing for more videos. Thank you.